And welcome back to another episode of the Association Spotlight Series. Joining us today, we have Angie Hamilton from Pressley Ridge. Angie, thanks for coming up to join us and talk with us.
Thanks, Lake. I'm glad to be here today.
Absolutely. If you could just maybe tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do with Pressley Ridge and your background, that'd be great.
Sure. So I'm Angie Hamilton Thomas. I'm the Executive Director with Pressley Ridge. I am the Executive Director over our region encompassing West Virginia and Virginia. So Pressley Ridge is a social impact organization. We touch the lives of probably about 9,000 children, youth, and families organization-wide. We are across 6 states, West Virginia obviously being one of those states. Yep. We operate from 4 distinct service lines, if you will, one of them being our residential treatment services, one being our treatment foster care continuum, which, foster care, treatment, foster care, adoption, that's like our continuum of foster care. Then we do a wide variety of diverse community-based services. And then more specific to our Pennsylvania programs are our educational services. So we have schools, we have a day school, we have schools for autism, kids with autism on that spectrum, and then a school for the deaf kids with behavior problems. So in West Virginia, we operate from 3 of those 4 service lines, and we pretty much touch just about the entire state with community-based services, foster care continuum, and then more specific in the southern part of the state, down in the Huntington area, is our residential treatment campus.
Wow, yeah, so it's a broad spectrum of services there, and you guys seem to be all over. That's great.
Yeah.
And you have a pretty unique story yourself within behavioral health care, and you've been at Pressley Ridge for a while now, right?
A very long time.
Yes, yes.
So just starting my career with Pressley Ridge, I was kind of recruited to come to Pressley Ridge by a friend and a sorority sister back in 1990. The date, December of 1990, so a long time. I mean, 30 years plus, a little bit more than, I've been with Pressley Ridge.
Wow.
I started out in the residential care service line, actually down in Ona, in the Huntington area. So yeah, I've had a long, rich history, if you will,
absolutely,
with Pressley. Been a very, very fulfilling career so far.
Sure, and I understand that you've worked in multiple positions throughout behavioral health and with Pressley Ridge and things. So, being in all these different positions, how has that kind of positioned you now in your position that you hold now? How has that kind of helped you see different aspects of the entire industry and your career path? How has that kind of helped you today?
Yeah, I think starting out, and I say this all the time to folks, I think starting out in that direct care role in the residential treatment campus down in Huntington, I think it really did set the stage. It gave me lots of foundation for where I am now. I mean, I just think that having all of those different scenarios with kids, the training that we receive, even from on that frontline level, it really does position you well as you continue to proceed through the organization in different roles. So if you think about, I just think about all the different aspects of working with those kids directly. I mean, you're involved in, crisis. You're involved with, thinking on your feet a lot of times.
Right.
A lot of the training that we had around the importance of relationships and the importance, even that we know now with a lot of the more recent work with like Dr. Bruce Perry about the importance of relational health in all that we do. And how we can take so much of what we did directly with those kids and with their families. Working with their families is still such an important aspect of the work that we do. Just how we need to be involved in that engagement piece, how we view families, how we embrace them, how we walk beside them in the journey, as opposed to, we're going to come in and do this service to you or do this intervention to you. Just all the things that we did with kids back then really did prepare us for that prepare me for that foundation of transferring those skills from working with kids to supervising staff to working with stakeholders, being able to even little things like negotiate things. You know, if you think about all of those very basic skill sets, when you're working directly with kids, really does set the stage for you to be able to build upon those skills and just continue to advance into other positions if that's, you know, what you choose to do.
Sure. Yeah, and just kind of pivoting on that a little bit, it sounds like these jobs sometimes can be very tough and they can be demanding, and we're already kind of talking about that. These are the fulfilling parts of the job, I would assume, though, right? And
Yes.
is that kind of what you love most about that aspect of it, is kind of seeing, you know, from the start there, direct care, a child, and then them coming up and really flourishing? Do you enjoyed that aspect of it?
Absolutely. I mean, and I tell folks all the time, especially with my experience in that residential, that frontline, if you will, position, that's what kept me going. And I think that some of the feedback that I've had is when I was recruited to come, one of the things was, folks didn't really think I would be a person to kind of give up. And I mean, that was hard, almost daily, and especially when the kids were at a point where, you know, they were all new to the program. We had just opened that residential campus, so we had all new kids. They were all kind of at the same place where you didn't have like half of the kids that had worked the program for so many months and half that maybe were new and struggling. They were all new and they were all struggling. So that was a very challenging period of time. So I tell folks all the time, I remember the first good 4 to 5 months, I would drive to work and really have this sick feeling, like what am I walking into, what's going to happen, you know, not knowing what your day may look like, what kids might be struggling with, just how that's going to look. But the training that we had always taught us that none of this is personal, and which is another one of those foundational skills that helps you later as you advance in different positions. None of this is personal. You have to learn to see these kids almost from the inside out. And then you know, all the work around, you know, how trauma impacts kids, and you see the behavior, but that's not what you're really looking for. You're really looking for what's driving it, what they're struggling with, what may have happened on a home visit, what may have triggered them because somebody said something. So that's what you really have to focus on, and not focus on what they're saying to you, what they're projecting onto you, their aggressiveness. So I think that the training that we received, again, back to that foundational learning, was so important. Because then it helps you later. If one of your staff are having a bad time or they're acting maybe out of the norm, you can bring them in and say, okay, what's happening, what's going on, as opposed to this person can't do their job, right? So many of those very foundational things. But yes, the reward of, and I think it's why I'm here today, 30 years later, is that I got to see the transformation of those kids right before my eyes. I mean, right before my eyes. I went from being sick to my stomach coming into work because it was so chaotic, to getting them to a place of, I couldn't wait to see them. Like what's exciting them. Yes, they still had struggles, but they would, you know, rush to the door. Angie G. They called me Angie G. My maiden name is G, and they always called me Angie G. Angie G. Like this happened or that happened, or I had a great home visit, and you really got to just see the transformation happening in the moment, and with their families. That was very important, because kids want to be with their families, no matter what that may look like to us. And to be able to have some hand in that, some level of impact, to truly change or have a hand in changing or impacting the trajectory of a kid and family's life is, I mean, I can't think of another career. And I know some people go into this thinking, well, you know, it's just kind of babysitting. We'll just watch kids, or we'll just, you know, kind of go in here and get a paycheck. It is so much more than that. I know people, I mean, hold like doctors in high regard, hold, you know, police officer. I mean, this is really that type. It's that level of importance. I mean, you are providing treatment, counseling, And to me, it's not about a degree. It's not about, I mean, those things are important to advance your career, but these kids need those kinds of supports and resources in the daily, in the milieu. They need trusting adults. They need those relationships, those connections. And I don't think anyone can really fully understand the impact of those things until they really get into this and fully experience it.
Yeah, it's invaluable. And I've worked in direct care myself, just like you have, and we were just talking earlier. It's just these relationships are lifelong almost. We still keep in touch with a lot of my old clients, and you just think about, I find myself that something will remind you of them walking down the street or a saying someone says, and it's just that it just puts a smile on your face. It really does. Yeah,
I'm still in contact with probably a handful of those. I call them my original 10. Probably a handful of those kids. I mean, I think we've lost one or two maybe to different things. They've passed, but unfortunately, yeah, I mean they have families.
Your extended family almost.
Oh
right?
Yeah, they have. I mean they're like on my Facebook page. I mean I see that they have families. They're in jobs. They're thriving. I still am in contact with some of their families and parents. I've seen some of them have lost their parents, and I've grieved with some of them. I mean you really do form those connections with those, and I still call them kids. They're grown adults. They're in their 40s, and to go back and think that I started at Pressley Ridge when I was 23 years old.
Wow. Yep.
But to think that you can at 22, 23, 24 years old have that level of impact on lives. I liken it to the importance of a doctor, somebody that really can help to change a life.
Right.
And sometimes I don't know if people see social work or see this kind of work in that same regard.
Right.
And it really is.
Oh, it absolutely should be. And I think that's maybe the most important takeaway there. It really is. Kind of turn on that a little bit. What would you say to someone, a young person like a 23-year-old or even a little bit younger, hopping into this field of behavioral health and kind of saying, it might be a little bit tough in the beginning, like we've talked about, and like any job though, really. It's just a different kind of tough. What would you say to that person to maybe say, hey, this isn't just a job here to start and a paycheck. This is a potential career path. And look at me, you're a walking testament to that. Yeah. What would you say to maybe that person to give them a little confidence and just to tell them to have patience and what all can be accomplished there and where your career can go? Yeah,
all the things that you just mentioned. I mean, I think that specifically at Pressley Ridge, there's just so much, and I know a lot of other organizations are offering really finding finding your place to where you really are going into it looking at it that way.
Yep.
I know some people are like, I'll go try this out, I'll go see, but really if you go into it and you really embrace your training, you really embrace those supports and those resources that are offered to you, and you start looking at this work likened unto, I'm here to impact a life. I'm here to provide a life-saving. I mean, I've had kids say to me and others that have provided this type of work, like, I don't know where I would be.
Right.
Like, and families, like, this was really life-changing for us. Not that we came in and like saved everybody's life, but we had a hand.
Absolutely.
In helping families to realize their potential, to build upon their strengths, to get them to a place where they were like, okay, we got it, we got it, we're good, but they had to have help getting there. For kids, to realize that they could do this, they could do it, they could get over this struggle, or they could get over this hump in life and go to college. I mean, we have staff that we have hired that work for us that were kids.
Wow.
In our programs.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we are changing the trajectory of lives, or having a hand in that, and really just going into it with that mindset.
Yeah.
And our organizations like ours we are offering so many things. We do cohorts like with Marshall University. If folks want to advance their degrees or their education. We are helping folks. I know for me, Pressley Ridge helped me with my with my master's degree. I got my master's degree with Pressley Ridge. We offer educational benefits that help with that cost in the cohorts. Obviously, it's a partnership we do with Marshall University, so that's a little different. But we still offer educational dollars to help people advance degrees, licensure. I know when I got my LPC, I had to have that external. Pressley Ridge contracted with a person to provide supervision for not only me but like 4 other people in my group. Paid for that cost. That's a high cost.
Oh, yeah.
They invested in us. They paid for that cost. They paid for our tests that we had to take. I hold an LSW and an LPC right now, and I keep those licenses current.
Yep.
Why wouldn't I? And Pressley supports that. They pay for those fees.
Wow.
They pay for my training. I don't have to take a vacation day to go to my trainings. They pay for my CEUs. They pay for me. They invest in me.
Right.
And they do that for any staff that wants to do this, that wants to continue their education, to continue their development, their professional development. We have an exceptional professional development career track that really does, again, invest in folks. You know, you can raise your hand and say, I aspire to be a supervisor. I would aspire to be in the training department. I aspire to be. And you can develop with your supervisor a career path, a training, if you will, path that will help you get there. Mm-hmm. We are multi-state, so we can, people move, they relocate, we help with those costs.
Wow, yeah.
We are needing leaders everywhere. And sometimes people don't want to be in a managerial or executive role, but they have gone into different roles like clinical leads. So they really like that clinical consultation role, and we have those in the organization. Like I said, trainers. There are needs everywhere.
Yes.
So really thinking about, going into this as, this can be a stepping stone, and really just taking in, I just remember taking in everything like a sponge that was offered, and continue to build, and just kind of, if you don't like this kind of position, just think about this one. Mm-hmm. But I think most organizations look to promote within, they look to develop within and invest within. Right. So I think folks just have to start thinking like that. Yes. They just have to go into it thinking like this could be my career. I mean, I call this my this is my second big girl job. Yeah. And I'm an executive director, and I've been here over 30 years. So here I am. Yeah. I mean, the CEO of our organization started in a direct care role. Most all of our program directors, if not all of them, started in a direct care role. Wow. A large portion of our senior directors started in a direct care role. I mean, so the evidence is there. It is, absolutely. And these are, well-paid positions. Yep. You can, so to me, it's kind of like, why wouldn't you? Right. Absolutely. Think that way, and then take advantage of the opportunities that are there. Yeah, you can be more correct on that, I think. Well, Angie, your story is an inspiring one. It really is, and we need more Angies out there, because it's true that this is right there in front of you. Guys, really is. These positions are there, and they're great careers and extremely fulfilling and rewarding. So, thanks for sitting down with us today and have the conversation. Appreciate it. Thank you.